The deep space radar station on Urava beeped 3 times before going silent. At first, the night shift operator thought it was just another system error. These things happened sometimes, especially with equipment exposed to Jupiter's harsh radiation. But then the Mars outpost reported the same thing. And finally, the lunar base confirmed it. Something massive was heading toward Earth. Admiral James Turner stood in the United Earth Defense Force Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the giant screens showing thousands of objects entering the solar system. In his 30 years of service, he had run countless simulations for this exact scenario. But now that it was actually happening, his mouth felt dry. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Wilson from his monitoring station, "the objects are maintaining perfect formation. This isn't a natural phenomenon." Turner nodded slowly. They all knew this day would come eventually. Humanity had been broadcasting its existence into space for over a century. It was only a matter of time before someone answered. "How many ships?" Turner asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're counting over 3,000 vessels, sir. The smallest ones are about the size of our aircraft carriers. The largest—" Wilson paused, double-checking his readings. "The largest is roughly the size of Manhattan." The command center fell silent. Even with all their preparations, the sheer scale of the alien fleet was overwhelming. Turner was about to order a full military alert when every screen in the command center suddenly went dark. When they came back on, they showed a single figure. The alien was humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin was pale gray, and its eyes were too large for its face. It wore what appeared to be a military uniform, adorned with symbols of rank that Turner didn't recognize. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice translated by computers. "I am Grand Admiral Dorn of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your world has been chosen to join our great empire. Resistance is not advised. We have conquered thousands of worlds, some far more advanced than yours. Submit, and you will be granted the privileges of imperial citizenship. Refuse, and we will be forced to demonstrate our power." Turner's fists clenched at his sides. The alien's tone was almost bored, as if this was just another routine conquest. He glanced at the other officers in the room. Many had families on the surface. All had sworn to protect Earth. And now, that oath would be put to the test. "Sir," Major Thompson called out from the communication station, "we're receiving similar broadcasts in every major language on Earth. They're bypassing all our security protocols." "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Colonel Roberts, her hand already hovering over the global alert button. Turner took a deep breath. The next few moments would determine humanity's fate. But what the aliens didn't know was that Earth wasn't as helpless as they assumed. For decades, the world's governments had been preparing in secret. Underground bases, hidden weapons platforms, and technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien ships. All of it had been building toward this moment. "Send word to all commands," Turner said, his voice firm. "Initiate Protocol Omega, and get me a secure line to the World Security Council. They need to know we're about to draw a line in the sand." As his orders were carried out, Turner looked back at the alien's face on the screen. The Empire clearly expected Earth to roll over and submit, just like thousands of worlds before. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would be terrified by their show of force. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. "And someone get me Director Roberts from Section 7, Turner added. "It's time to show these aliens why you should never corner a species that spent its entire history preparing for war." The pieces were set. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. And if the Empire thought Earth would be an easy conquest, they were in for a very rude awakening. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Director Emma Roberts walked through sliding doors into Earth's most secret laboratory. The room was massive, carved out of solid rock, and in its center stood humanity's best-kept secret, a fully functional alien spacecraft. "Status report," she called out to the team of scientists working around the ship. The vessel wasn't Imperial. It had crashed in Russia 70 years ago, but it had given humanity the head start it desperately needed. Director, Dr. Martin stepped forward, tablet in hand. We've confirmed the Imperial ships use the same basic technology as our crash specimen. Their shields operate on similar frequencies. Roberts allowed herself a small smile. This was exactly what they'd hoped for. And our countermeasures? Better than we expected. The phase shift technology we developed works perfectly. Their sensors won't detect our hidden bases until it's too late. Above ground, the world governments were putting on a show of panic and emergency meetings. It was all carefully choreographed. Every scared broadcaster, every leaked military document, every satellite image of people fleeing cities, all of it designed to convince the Empire that Earth was just another helpless planet. Robert's phone buzzed. Admiral Turner's name flashed on the screen. "Talk to me, James. The Empire gave us 6 hours to surrender." Turner's voice was tight with controlled anger. "They're convinced we're scrambling in fear. Our orbital satellites are picking up their scout ships moving into position around Mars." "Perfect," Roberts replied. "They're following the exact pattern we predicted." Arrogant to the core. "Is Operation Ghost ready?" "All bases are reporting green. The moon base is fully cloaked, Mars' defense grid is powered but hidden, and Europa Station is maintaining radio silence. As far as the Empire knows, we barely have space stations in Earth orbit." Roberts walked to a massive screen showing real-time positions of Earth's hidden defenses. Thousands of dots represented weapons platforms, shield generators, and battle stations, all invisible to Imperial scans. The fruits of 70 years of preparation. "What about Project Thunder?" she asked, eyeing the section of screen showing deep space installations. "All quantum torpedoes are in position," Turner confirmed. "If they try to make an example of Mars like we predict, they're in for one hell of a surprise." Roberts turned to face the alien ship in the center of the lab. Its dark metal surface reflected the lights above, reminding her of all the sacrifices made to reach this point. How many good people had died in secret, working to reverse engineer alien technology? How many families had never known the true fate of their loved ones? "Director," one of the technicians called out, "Imperial ships are broadcasting again. They're demanding access to our military databases as a show of good faith." Roberts laughed. The Empire didn't realize they were walking right into a trap. Earth's visible military forces were just the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface, in hidden bunkers and secret bases, lay the real strength of humanity's defense. "Send them the fake files we prepared," she ordered. "Let them think they're seeing everything we have. And notify all commands. The moment they make their move against Mars, Operation Awakening begins." She turned back to the main screen, watching as Imperial ships moved into position. They thought they were being clever, methodically studying what they believed to be Earth's primitive defenses. In reality, they were surrounded by weapons systems they couldn't even detect. "One more thing," Roberts spoke into her phone. "Tell Admiral Turner that the quantum shield is ready. The moment they fire on Mars, Earth will be fully protected. Let's show these empires that sometimes the deadliest predator is the one that plays dead until the perfect moment to strike." The Empire had no idea that their routine conquest was about to become a lesson in why you should never underestimate humanity. The trap was set, and Earth's apparent weakness was about to become its greatest strength. Commander Thomas Reeves stood before the giant screen in the Global Broadcasting Center, his uniform crisp and perfect. In 10 minutes, he would deliver humanity's response to the Empire's demands. But first, he had to make a choice that would shape history. "Are you sure about this approach, Commander?" General Adams asked, reviewing the prepared message one last time. "It's unconventional." Reed nodded, his expression grim. "The Empire needs to understand exactly what they're dealing with. No diplomatic double talk. No begging. Just the truth." The truth was something humanity had spent centuries writing in blood. Now, it would serve as their warning to the stars. Transmission ready, sir, the tech team reported. We've bypassed their communication protocols. They won't be able to shut this off. Reed took his position. Behind him, massive screens began playing the carefully selected footage. Send it to every Imperial ship. Make sure their entire fleet sees this. The message began with silence. Then, images started flowing. Ancient battles, armies clashing with swords and shields. The footage moved forward through time. Medieval wars, cavalry charges, the invention of gunpowder. Then came the modern era. World War I trenches filled the screen, showing soldiers fighting through mud and poison gas. World War I followed, with cities burning and armies clashing across continents. Nuclear explosions bloomed like deadly flowers, their mushroom clouds reaching for the sky. Then came humanity's more recent achievements: space stations, lunar bases, the Mars colony. But interwoven with these were images of military exercises, advanced weapon tests, and orbital defense platforms, all carefully staged to look less advanced than they really were. To the Galactic Empire, Reed's voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. You have demanded our surrender. You believe that your superior numbers and technology make victory inevitable. You are wrong. The screen showed more footage: guerrilla warfare, resistance movements, people fighting against overwhelming odds and winning. Humanity has spent its entire existence preparing for war, not because we want to fight, but because we must. Every human child learns about war before they can walk. Every human nation was born in conflict. We do not just study war, we perfect it. New images appeared: modern special forces training, cyber warfare centers, advanced military research facilities, all carefully selected to show capability without revealing their true strength. You think you see weakness because we haven't spread across the stars. The truth is, we were waiting, building, preparing. Your ships are not the first alien vessels we've encountered, just the first we've allowed to get this close. The screen suddenly shifted to classified footage: the captured alien ship beneath the Rocky Mountains, the hidden weapon platforms around Mars, the quantum shield generators waiting to be activated. This is not a plea for mercy. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. Leave our solar system. What you think is primitive technology is merely what we've allowed you to see. What you believe is fear is simply us giving you one chance to avoid annihilation. Reed's voice grew harder. We would rather see our world burn than live under tyranny. If you doubt our resolve, know this: we have already planted the seeds of your empire's destruction. The only question is whether you will leave in peace or force us to demonstrate why humanity has survived every threat it has ever faced. The transmission ended with one final image: Earth's combined military forces standing ready, backed by technology the Empire didn't know they possessed. In the silence that followed, Reed turned to General Adams. Now we wait. Either they're smart enough to leave, or they're about to learn why you should never corner a species that turned warfare into an art form. The Empire's response would determine whether humanity revealed its full strength. But either way, the galaxy was about to learn that Earth wasn't just another primitive world to be conquered. It was a planet of warriors who had spent millennia preparing for this exact moment. High Admiral Dorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Dawn, watching the human transmission with growing anger. In his 300 years of serving the Empire, no primitive species had ever dared to threaten them. The sheer audacity of it made his blood boil. These humans are either insane or foolish, he growled to his command staff. They show us footage of their primitive wars and expect us to be impressed. We conquered worlds that had weapons that could destroy stars. His second-in-command, Captain Vale, stepped forward carefully. Sir, there's something odd about their behavior. Most species beg for mercy when they see our fleet. These humans almost seem eager for conflict. Dorn waved away the concern. A primitive psychological trick. They hope to appear stronger than they are. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare a demonstration. Target their Mars colony. Let's show them what real power looks like. In the Mars Defense Command bunker, deep beneath the red planet's surface, Colonel Lisa Martinez watched as Imperial ships moved into attack position. Her fingers hovered over the activation controls for the hidden defense grid, waiting for the perfect moment. "All personnel, battle stations," she ordered, her voice steady. "Remember your training. Let them fire first." The Imperial ships formed a perfect attack pattern above Mars, their weapons charging. They had no idea they were surrounded by cloaked weapon platforms, automated defense systems, and enough firepower to destroy half their fleet. On the Imperial dawn, Dorn gave the order, "Fire." The Empire's ships unleashed their attack, expecting to obliterate the small Martian colonies in seconds. Instead, their energy weapons hit an invisible barrier, spreading across a shield that suddenly shimmered into existence around the entire planet. "Impossible," Dorn shouted, stepping forward. "Their technology isn't advanced enough for planetary shields." Before he could give another order, the surface of Mars seemed to come alive. Hidden doors in the planet's surface slid open, revealing missile silos, energy cannons, and defense platforms that had been invisible to Imperial scans. Colonel Martinez pressed the button. "All units, return fire. Show them what humanity's been hiding." The attack was devastating. Quantum torpedoes phased through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. Gravity weapons crushed enemy ships into balls of twisted metal. Electric pulse weapons shut down Imperial systems, leaving their ships dead in space. In Earth's command center, Admiral Turner watched the battle unfold. "Send in the Ghost Fleet." Ships that had been hiding in Mars' shadow using advanced cloaking technology suddenly appeared behind the Imperial forces. The Empire's perfect formation turned into a death trap as they found themselves caught between two fires. On the Imperial dawn, alarms screamed as ships exploded around them. "How?" Dorn demanded, watching his fleet being torn apart. "Their weapons, they're more advanced than ours." "This is impossible." Captain Vale's face was pale. "Sir, we need to retreat. We've lost 30% of our attack force in less than 5 minutes." But Dorn's pride wouldn't let him accept defeat. "Launch our fighters. All ships, press the attack." "They can't possibly." His words were cut off as a quantum torpedo phased through the flagship's shields and detonated near the bridge. Emergency barriers slammed down as atmosphere vented into space. "All the Imperial forces, fall back." Vale ordered, taking command as Dorn lay unconscious from the blast. "Emergency retreat. Get us out of here." The surviving Imperial ships fled in disarray, leaving their damaged vessels behind. As they retreated, Colonel Martinez sent one final message to the fleeing fleet. "Let this serve as proof of our warning. Return, and next time we won't be so merciful. This was just one planet's defenses. Imagine what awaits you at Earth." The battle for Mars was over in less than 15 minutes. The mighty Imperial fleet had been bloody for the first time in centuries, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's warning wasn't just empty words. It was a promise. Dr. Alice Cooper walked through the long underground tunnel connecting Earth's hidden command centers. Behind her, a team of engineers worked frantically at their stations. On the screens above them, red dots showed Imperial ships regrouping at the edge of the solar system. "Status report," she called out, reaching the main control room. The space was filled with holographic displays, showing something the Empire feared more than any weapon. A plan decades in the making. "All sleeper ships are reporting ready," her assistant reported. "The quantum network is stable. We can trigger the devices at any time." Cooper nodded, studying the largest display. It showed thousands of tiny points of light scattered throughout Imperial space. Hidden bombs planted by unmanned ships Earth had sent out 30 years ago. While the Empire thought humans were barely reaching their own moon, these vessels had been quietly ceding their territory with weapons. In the main war room, Admiral Turner and Director Roberts watched as Imperial reinforcements arrived. The Empire was angry now, preparing to throw their full might against Earth. They still didn't understand what they were really fighting. They're gathering a fleet 5 times larger than the first one, Turner noted, studying the sensor readings. They think this is about ships and weapons. Cooper smiled grimly. That's their biggest mistake. This isn't about military power. It's about how far humanity is willing to go to remain free. She pressed a button, bringing up another display. This one showed something even more ambitious than the hidden bombs. The locations of resistance cells Earth had secretly established on dozens of Imperial worlds. For years, human agents disguised as merchants and refugees had been building networks, gathering intelligence, and preparing for this moment. Team leaders checking in. An operator called out, "Operation Shadow is ready to launch." Cooper turned to face the assembled command staff. While the Empire spent centuries conquering through brute force, we studied their weaknesses, their supply lines, their communication networks, their power grids, all the things they take for granted. On another screen, footage played from Imperial worlds. Human agents, hidden in plain sight, waited near critical infrastructure. Others had infiltrated Imperial military bases, communication centers, and government buildings, all of them ready to strike on command. The Empire thinks they're about to teach us a lesson, Cooper continued. Instead, they're about to learn why humans are different from every species they've encountered. We don't just prepare for war, we prepare for total war. In orbit, Earth's visible defenses remained minimal, a clever deception. The real strength lay in the quantum-linked weapons scattered throughout Imperial space, the sleeper agents on their worlds, and the viruses waiting to shut down their networks. Signal from the Imperial fleet, an officer reported. They're demanding our immediate surrender. They say they'll show no mercy this time. Cooper exchanged looks with Turner and Roberts. The Empire still thought this was a simple conquest. They didn't realize they were facing an enemy who had spent generations preparing for this exact scenario. Send them our response, Cooper ordered. Tell them to look up Earth's ancient history. Remind them what happened to the last empires that thought they could break the human spirit. As the message was sent, she activated the master control panel. Across Imperial space, hidden weapons powered up. Sleeper agents received their go codes. Computer viruses began their silent spread through enemy networks. They thought they found a primitive world to conquer, Cooper said, watching the pieces of humanity's master plan fall into place. Instead, they found a species that turned paranoia into an art form, a species that looked at the stars and didn't just dream of reaching them. We prepared to fight for them. The Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their ability to plan, to prepare, and to strike from every direction at once. The true face of humanity wasn't the peaceful facade they showed to the galaxy. It was the carefully hidden network of weapons, agents, and plans that would bring an empire to its knees. Captain Michael West stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Humanity's Shield, watching as the massive Imperial fleet approached. Unlike their sleek, gleaming vessels, Earth's ships were built for pure function, dark, angular, and deadly. They looked exactly like what they were, weapons designed by a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Ghost fleet in position. Quantum torpedoes armed. West nodded, his expression calm. The Empire had gathered nearly 15,000 ships for their revenge attack. They thought overwhelming numbers would guarantee victory. They were wrong. Send the signal to all commands, he ordered. Execute Battle Plan Thunder. Across the solar system, humanity's trap began to close. The Imperial fleet had divided itself into 3 attack groups, planning to hit Earth from multiple directions. It was textbook military strategy, and exactly what humans had planned for. First wave of quantum bombs activating, the weapons officer reported. Throughout the Imperial formation, the hidden weapons Earth had planted decades ago came to life. They didn't explode. They did something far worse. Each bomb created a micro-black hole that lasted for exactly 2 seconds, long enough to tear apart any ship caught in its gravity well. The Imperial fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos as hundreds of ships were ripped to pieces. But this was just the beginning. "Launch fighter squadrons," West commanded. "Show them why humans still train for dogfights even in the age of space warfare." Earth's fighters were smaller than Imperial vessels, more maneuverable, and piloted by humans who had trained in combat since childhood. They struck from impossible angles, using maneuvers the Empire's computers said were suicidal. But human pilots didn't rely on computers. They relied on instinct, courage, and the kind of skill that only came from a species born to fight. In the Imperial flagship, now safely back from Mars, High Admiral Dorn watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. How are they doing this? Their tactics make no sense. But they did make sense to humans. Every crazy maneuver, every seemingly suicidal attack run, was based on centuries of aerial combat doctrine. While the Empire relied on computers and standard tactics, humanity had learned to be unpredictable. "Sir," West's communication officer called out, "getting reports from deep space. Operation Shadow is underway." Across Imperial space, human agents began their attacks. Power grids failed on key worlds. Communication networks crashed. Supply lines were cut. The mighty Empire found itself fighting enemies it couldn't even see. "Launch the virus," West ordered. Throughout the Imperial fleet, ships suddenly lost power as a computer virus. Designed by humans who had studied Imperial technology for decades, shut down their systems. The Empire had never bothered creating cybersecurity defenses because no species had ever dared to hack their networks. "Imperial ships are trying to retreat," Tactical reported, "but their navigation systems are compromised. They're flying blind." West allowed himself a small smile. "Launch second wave attack. Show them what happens when you threaten a species that turned warfare into a science." Earth's ships moved in perfect coordination, their attacks precisely calculated to cause maximum damage with minimum risk. This wasn't just a battle. It was the culmination of thousands of years of human military evolution. "Message from Command," Communications announced. "Dr. Cooper reports all deep space objectives achieved. The Empire's core worlds are in chaos." West nodded, watching as the mighty Imperial fleet fell into disarray. They had come expecting to fight primitive warriors. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Push them back to the edge of the solar system. Let them run home and tell their masters what happened when they tried to conquer Earth. The battle wasn't over, but the tide had turned. Humanity had revealed its true nature, not just as warriors, but as masters of strategy, deception, and the kind of warfare that the Empire had never imagined possible." 3 months after the Empire's failed invasion, Admiral James Turner stood before the United Earth Council, delivering his final report. The massive chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, all eager to hear about humanity's new place in the galaxy. "The Imperial fleet has withdrawn to their core systems," Turner announced, his voice echoing through the hall. But that's just the beginning of their problems. The main screen behind him showed footage from across Imperial space. On dozens of worlds, former slave species had risen up against their masters. Earth's victory had shown them something they'd never seen before, proof that the Empire could be beaten. "Our agents report that 17 systems have already declared independence," Turner continued. "The Empire's iron grip on the galaxy is breaking, and they have humanity to thank for it." In her underground command center, Director Emma Roberts watched as reports flooded in from human operatives throughout Imperial space. The Empire's carefully built dominion was crumbling from within, aided by technology and weapons secretly provided by Earth. "Message from the Imperial capital," her assistant reported. "They're requesting a diplomatic meeting. First time in their history they've ever asked for negotiations instead of demanding them." Roberts smiled. The mighty empire that had threatened to destroy Earth was now facing destruction itself, not from Earth's weapons, but from the hope that humanity had given to countless enslaved species. In orbit above Earth, Dr. Alice Cooper stood in the observation deck of the new Galactic Embassy Station. Below her, ships from dozens of alien species waited to make contact. Some were former imperial slaves seeking alliance. Others were independent worlds that had hidden from the Empire, now emerging to join a new galactic community. Another delegation requesting permission to dock, the station's AI announced. These ones are from the Centauri Rim. They say they've been watching Earth for decades, waiting to see how we'd handle first contact. Cooper nodded, remembering all the strange signals Earth's deep space arrays had detected over the years. They hadn't been alone in watching and waiting. Many species had been studying humanity, curious to see what they would become. Captain Michael West's voice came over the station's comm system. "Dr. Cooper, the Resistance Council is ready for your presentation." In the station's main conference room, representatives from 30 different species waited to learn how Earth had accomplished the impossible. They wanted to know how a single planet had brought an empire to its knees. "The truth is simple," Cooper began, addressing the alien delegates. "Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to make sure nobody could rule us. But in preparing to defend our freedom, we created something more powerful than any empire: hope." She showed them Earth's archives, centuries of resistance movements, smaller nations defeating larger ones, the constant human drive for freedom. The aliens watched in amazement as they realized Earth's victory wasn't just about advanced weapons or clever tactics. It was about the human spirit. "We don't want to replace the Empire," Cooper explained. "We want to help create something new. A galaxy where no species can dominate another. Where knowledge and resources are shared, not hoarded. Where freedom is protected, not suppressed." In the following weeks, a new galactic alliance began to form. Earth became its heart, not as a ruler, but as a protector. Human military advisors helped newly freed worlds build their defenses. Human scientists shared the technology they'd developed. Human diplomats helped forge new bonds between species that had been enemies under imperial rule. The Empire had thought they were simply conquering another primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a force that would reshape the galaxy, not through conquest or domination, but through humanity's most powerful weapons: hope, determination, and an unwavering belief in freedom. As Turner finished his report to the Council, he looked at the faces before him, human leaders who had guided Earth through its greatest challenge. "The Empire set its sights on Earth," he concluded, never realizing that in doing so, they weren't finding a new victim. They were creating a new future for the entire galaxy.